Hare Krishna. Shri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Giridhara Shirvasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयोमुदीरे नस्तप्रयस्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25. The Glories of Devotional Service. Sonaka Uvacha Kapilastadvasankhyata Bhagavanatma Mayaya Jataha Swayam Ajaha Shakshad Atma Pranyaptayeninam.
Sri Saunaka said, although he is unborn, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took birth as Kapila Muni by his internal potency. He descended to disseminate transcendental knowledge for the benefit of the whole human race.
Nahi asya varsha manah pumsam varim nah sarva yoginam visruto shuta devasya bhuri tripyanti me savaha.
Saunaka continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature a yogi than he. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses.
Yad yad vidhatte bhagavan swachchaddatmatma mayaya tani me shraddhadhanasya kirtanyani anukirtaya.
Therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency.
Sutta uvacha Dvaipayana shakhastvevam Maitreyo bhagavamstatha Prahedam viduram prita Anvikshikhyam prachoditaha.
Sri Suta Goswami said, the most powerful sage, Maitreya, was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidur's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows.
Maitreya uvacha Pittari prasthiteranyam Matuh priya chikirsaya Asmin bindu sare vatsid Bhagavan kapilah kila.
Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovar to please his mother, Devahuti.
Tam asinam akarmanam tadvamargadarshanam swasutam devahutiyaha dhatuh samsmarati vachaha.
When Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of the absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapila as follows.
Devahutiruvacha Nirvinnanitaram bhuman asad indriyatarsanad yena sambhavyamanena prapanandham tamaha prabhu.
Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by the material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance.
Tasya tvam tamasundhasya dusparasya paragam sakchakshur janmanamante labdham me tvat anugrahat.
Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental eye, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births.
Yadyo bhagavan pumsam ishvaro vai bhavan kila lokasya tamasandhasya chakshuhu surya ivoditaha.
You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and the Supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance of the universe.
Athami deva sanmoham apakrastum tam arhasi yo vagraho hammametiti etasmin yojitastvaya.
Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations.
Tam tvagaitaham sharanam sharanyam swabhritya samsarataroho kutharam jinyasayaham prakriteha purusasya namami saddharma vidam varishtham.
Devahuti continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to the relationship between man and woman and between spirit and matter.
Okay, so this is a good place to stop and just take stock of what's being said. So over to you, Surendra.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes. So, chapter 25, the glories of devotional service, Devahuti's prayers, verses 1 to 11. Although the Lord is unborn, he appears to give transcendental knowledge. Remembering Brahma's words, Devahuti approached Kapila to ask him how to become free from sense gratification, ignorance, delusion, false ego, and attachment to family. She also asks him to explain Prakriti and Purusha, which are revealed in Sankhya philosophy. She states that she takes a shelter of him who can cut with an axe Maya. Just 1 minute, Prabhu. Yeah. Hare Krishna. I had to close the door.
No problem. No.
Yes. So some prayers by Devahuti to Kapila Muni, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is mentioned. And also Devahuti makes inquiry. And this is very exemplary, that we should, as it is says in one of the aphorisms, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. We should inquire about Brahman, that is spiritual life. And therefore, it says that search for Sri Krishna on a higher level, search for Sri Krishna, reality the beautiful. This is mostly emphasized. Like we should search for Krishna. This is emphasized in the scriptures. So in this way, so Devahuti is inquiring from Kapila Muni, and Kapila Muni will give all the explanation. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad. Nitai Gaur Haribo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maitreya uvacha iti swamatur niravadyamipshitam nisamya pumsam apavargavardhanam dhiyabhinandyatmavatam satam gati babhasai satsmita shobhitananah.
Maitreya said, after hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself for her questions, and thus, his face smiling, he explained the path of the transcendentalists who are interested in self-realization.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Yoga adhyatmikah pumsam mato nihisreyasaya me atyanto paratiryatra dukhasya cha sukhasya cha.
The personality of Godhead answered, the yoga system which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of the living entity, and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system.
Tam imam te pravakshami yam avocham puranaghe rashinam shrotu kamanam yogam sarvangane punam.
O most pious Mother, I shall now explain unto you the ancient yoga system, which I explained formerly to the great sages. It is serviceable and practical in every way.
Chetah khalvasya bandhaya muktaye chatmano matam guneshu shaktam bandhaya ratam va bhumi muktaye.
The stage in which the consciousness of the living entity is attracted by the three modes of material nature is called conditional life. But when that same consciousness is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is situated in the consciousness of liberation.
Aham mamabhimanothai kamalobhadibhirmale vitam yada manah suddham adhukham ashukham shamam.
When one is completely cleansed of the impurities of lust and greed produced from the false identification of the body as I and bodily possessions as mine, one's mind becomes purified. In that pure state, he transcends the stage of so-called material happiness and distress.
Tada purusha atmanam kevalam prakritehi param nirantaram swayam jyotir animanam akhanditam.
At that time, the soul can see himself to be transcendental to material existence and always self-effulgent, never fragmented, although very minute in size.
Jnana vairagya yuktena bhakti yuktena chatmana परिपश्यति उदासीनं प्रकृतिं च हतोजशम्.
In that position of self-realization, by practice of knowledge and renunciation, in devotional service, one sees everything in the right perspective. He becomes indifferent to material existence, and the material influence acts less powerfully upon him.
नायोज्यमानया भक्त्या भगवती अखिलात्मनि सदृशोऽस्ति शिवः पन्था योगिनां ब्रह्मसिद्धये.
Perfection in self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path.
Hare Krishna. So, liberation, verses 12 to 19. Smiling, Kapila begins his instructions. For liberation from illusion and distress, one should practice yoga. One should focus the consciousness in devotional service on the Lord, purified from lust and greed. One gives up false identification and becomes transcendental to material existence. Yes, so it is explained that Devahuti, Mother Devahuti mentioned that it is because of false ego that we falls into Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. False ego means that we falsely identify ourselves with the body. And then extended false ego is that then when we identify with relationships in the family, like this is my family, this is my country. So these are extended ego. So we have to nullify this false ego. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu has explained that our real identity, real true ego is as follows. Jivya Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, Das Das Anudas. We are spiritual servant of Krishna, and Krishna is servant. Like that. So we have to nullify the false ego, and this concept of I, me, mine should be abolished. So in the scriptures, in the mood of Sharanagati, it is mentioned, the only obstacle to surrender is self-asserting ego. The Supreme Lord Keshava remains in the company of persons who are free from a mundane conception of life. But there appears to be a great mountain range between the self-asserting egotists and the Lord. So in this way, this is a basic requirement to give up false ego, and we have to purify our heart from these material qualities such as lust, anger, greed, madness, delusion, envy, false pride, like that. And as in Gauranga Mahaprabhu's Shikshastakam, the first verse mentions, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. That is, we have to cleanse the mirror of the mind from all these impurities, lust and greed and anger, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra always. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Up to 28 now.
प्रसङ्गम् अजरं पाशम् आत्मनः कवयो विदुः स एव साधु सुकृतो मोक्षद्वारम् अपावृतम्.
Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation.
तितिक्षवः कारुणिकाः सुहृदः सर्वदेहिनाम् अजातशत्रवः शान्ताः साधवः साधुभूषणाः.
The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all the characteristics are sublime.
मयि अनन्येन भावेन भक्तिं कुर्वन्ति ये दृढां मत्कृते त्यक्तकर्माणस्त्यक्तस्वजनबान्धवाः.
Such a sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections, such as family relationships and friendly acquaintances within the world.
मद् आश्रयाः कथामृताः शृण्वन्ति कथयन्ति च तपन्ति विविधास्तापा नैतान् मद्गतचेतसः.
Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities.
तैते साधवः साध्वी सर्वसङ्गविवर्जिताः सङ्गस्ते स्वथ ते प्रार्थ्यः सङ्गदोषः राहिते.
O my mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment.
सतां प्रसङ्गान् मम वीर्यसंविदो भवन्ति कर्णरसायनः कथाः तज्योषणादाश्वा पर्ववर्गवर्तमानि श्रद्धारतिर्भक्तिरनुक्रमिष्यति.
In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is free, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin.
भक्त्या पुमाञ्जात विराग इन्द्रियात् दृष्टश्रुतान् मद्रचनानुचिन्तया चितस्य यतो ग्रहणे योगयुक्तो यतिष्यति ऋजुभिर्योगमार्गैः.
Thus, consciously engaged in devotional service in the association of devotees, a person gains distaste for sense gratification, both in this world and in the next, by constantly thinking about the activities of the Lord. This process of Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of mystic power. When one is actually situated on that path of devotional service, he is able to control the mind.
असेवयायं प्रकृतेर्गुणानां ज्ञानेन वैराग्यविजृम्भितेन योगेन मय्यर्पितया च भक्त्या मां प्रत्यगात्मानमिहावरुन्धे.
Thus, by not engaging in the service of the modes of material nature, but by developing Krishna consciousness, knowledge in renunciation, and by practicing yoga, in which the mind is always fixed in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one achieves my association in this very life, for I am the Supreme Personality, the absolute truth.
Devahutiruvacha Tachitvai uchita bhaktihi Kidrishi mama gochara Yaya padam te nirvanam Angashan vasnavaham.
On hearing this statement of the Lord, Devahuti inquired, what kind of devotional service is worth developing and practicing to help me easily and immediately attain the service of your lotus feet?
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. So devotee association, verses 20 to 28. One who is attached to devotees opens the doors of liberation. Devotees are tolerant, merciful, friendly, peaceful, and follow scriptures, secondary consideration. They practice strict devotional service and renounce everything for the Lord, primary consideration. By hearing Krishna Katha in Sadhu Sangha, devotees association, one advances in Krishna consciousness from Shraddha, firm faith, to Rati, attraction, to Bhakti, pure devotion. Yes, so it is mentioned like the Sadhu Sangha has been emphasized, devotees association. That's why in scriptures mentioned Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kahe, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So 3 times emphasized in the scriptures that we need to always have Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees. And 99.9% of our Krishna consciousness depends on Sadhu Sangha. We need to try to associate with devotees who are senior and more experienced than us, and in their association, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and perform devotional service, devotional activities. So some devotees, devotional qualities mentioned here. Devotees are tolerant, merciful, friendly, peaceful, and follow scriptures. So as Gauranga Mahaprabhu has mentioned in Shikshastakam, 3rd verse, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnava Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So this is very much emphasized by Gauranga Mahaprabhu, that we should be practicing tolerance, to be humble, and to be respectful, and not to expect honor in return. In this mood, one can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra constantly. They, yes, like that, in Krishna consciousness, they practice a strict devotional service and renounce everything for the Lord by hearing Krishna Katha. So hearing and chanting has been emphasized in the association of devotees, as in Prem Dham Deva Stotram it is mentioned. Radhika Vinoda Matra Tadva Lakshan Anvayam Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nama Sadhanaika Nischayam Prema Seva Naika Matra Sadhya Krishna Tatparam Prema Dham Devam Evano Nigoda Sundaram. So it is mentioned that Radhika Vinod, that is Radha Krishna, is a goal of our life. And we should chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra always in the company of the sadhus, the devotees. And also Prema Seva Naika Matra Sadhya Krishna Tatparam. We should, by performing some devotional activities with love and devotion, then we will attain the lotus feet of Radha Krishna, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Thank you. So now it's up to 33. And actually, there's one verse in this selection or series, number 21, very, very important verse. This is the symptoms of a sadhu. He's tolerant, merciful, friendly, no enemies, peaceful, lives by the scriptures, and his characteristics are sublime. A very beautiful verse, actually. Okay, over to you, Anandalina.
Yo yogo bhagavad bhanu nirvanamam swayoditaha kidrishaha kati changani yatastadvava bodhanam.
The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth that sublime yoga?
Tad etanme vijanihi yathaham mandadhir hare sukham buddhyeya durbodham yosha bhavat anugrahat.
My dear son Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain it to me, even though I am not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness.
Maitreya uvacha Viditvatham kapilo maturitham jata sneho yatra tanvabhijataha tadvam nayam nat pravadanti sankhyam provacha vai bhakti vitana yogam.
Sri Maitreya said, after hearing the statement of his mother, Kapila could understand her purpose and he became compassionate towards her because of being born of her body. He described the Sankhya system of philosophy, which is a combination of devotional service and mystic realization as received by disciplic succession.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Devanam Gunalinganam Anusravika Karmanam Satadvaiva Kamanaso Vrittihi Swabhavikituya Animita Bhagavati Bhaktir Siddhir Gariyasi.
Lord Kapila said, the senses are symbolic representations of the demigods, and their natural inclination is to work under the direction of the Vedic injunctions. As the senses are representatives of the demigods, so the mind is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mind's natural duty is to serve. When that service spirit is engaged in devotional service to the Personality of Godhead, without any motive, that is far better even than salvation.
Jarayati asuya kosham nigirnam analo yatha.
Bhakti, devotional service, dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without separate effort, just as fire in the stomach digests all that we eat.
So, devotional service, verses 29 to 33. Although understanding that she should perform bhakti, Devahuti also inquires about yoga and jnana. Being further prompted, Kapila describes the process of Sankhya philosophy, which is a combination of bhakti and yoga. He glorifies the bhakti performed without material desires that serve the senses of the Lord, with the mind exclusively dedicated to the Lord. This bhakti dissolves the subtle body of the soul. Yeah, so this is emphasized on the concept of Sudha Bhakti. Sudha Bhakti is free from desires of material sense gratification. And Sudha Bhakti is free from this Mayavad conception. And Sudha Bhakti is free from desire to gain mystic yoga power. So it is mentioned here that Kapila Muni glorifies bhakti performed without material desires. So he's glorifying Shuddha Bhakti. And that bhakti, that which serve the senses of the Lord, to please the Lord. And our mind should be exclusively dedicated to the Lord, means absorbed in Harikatha and Harikirtan. In this way, all our this subtle body will be dissolved and will be stated in pure devotional service by the grace of Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
नैकात्मता मे स्फिर्हयन्ति केचिन् मत्पादसेवाभिरता मदिहाः ये न्योन्यतो भागवतः प्रसज्य सभाजयन्ते मम पौरुषाणि.
Pure devotee who is attached to the activities of devotional service and who always engages in the service of my lotus feet, never desires to become one with me. Such a devotee who is unflinchingly engaged always glorifies my pastimes and activities.
पश्यन्ति ते मे रुचिराणि अम्बसन्तः प्रसन्नवक्त्रारुणलोचनानि रूपाणि दिव्यानि वरप्रदानि शाकं वाचं स्फिर्हन्यां वदन्ति.
O my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form, with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me.
ते दर्शनीया वयवेरुदार विलासहासेक्षितवामशुक्तैः हितात्मनो हितप्राणां च भक्तिः अनीच्यतो मे गतिमन्विन् प्रयुक्ते.
Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are freed from all other engagements, and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor.
अथो विभूतिं मम माया विनस्ताम् ऐश्वर्यमस्ताङ्गमनुप्रवृत्तम् श्रियं भागवतीं वा स्पृहयन्ति भद्राम् परस्य मीते स्नुवते तु लोके.
Thus, because he is completely absorbed in thought of me, the devotee does not desire even the highest benediction obtainable in the upper planetary systems, including Satyaloka. He does not desire the 8 material perfections obtained from mystic yoga, nor does he desire to be elevated to the kingdom of God. Yet, even without desiring them, the devotee enjoys, even in this life, all the offered benedictions.
न कर्हि चिन्मत्पराः शान्तरूपे नङ्क्षन्ति नो मे निमिषोलेद्विहेतिः येषामहं प्रियात्मा सुतश्च सखा गुरुसुहृदुदेवमीष्टम्.
The Lord continued, My dear mother, devotees who receive such transcendental opulences are never bereft of them. Neither weapons nor the change of time can destroy such opulences. Because the devotees accept me as their friend, their relative, their son, preceptor, benefactor, and supreme deity, They cannot be deprived of their possessions at any time.
Imam lokam tathaivamun atmanam upayayinam atmanam anuyecheha yerayah pashavo grihah visrijya sarvan anyamscha mamevam vishvato mukham bhajanti ananyaya bhaktya tan mrityor atiparaye.
Thus the devotee who worships me, the all-pervading Lord of the universe, in unflinching devotional service, gives up all aspirations to be promoted to heavenly planets, or to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, home, or anything in relationship with the body. I take him to the other side of birth and death.
Hare Krishna. So, characteristics of a devotee, verses 35 to 40. A pure devotee attached to the activities of devotional service never desires to merge with me, always engaged in the service of my lotus feet, glorifies my activities in association of the devotees, sees my attractive smiling face, sees my various benevolent transcendental forms, talks favorably with me, gets liberation without separate endeavor, although not even desiring it, gives up all attachments of his work, worship me exclusively, does not desire higher planets or mystic powers or even the kingdom of God, but I give. And my pure devotee is not deprived of any opulence or affected by time, because they accept the Lord as their lover, son, friend, etc. in the spiritual world. Yes, so these are the pure devotees' characteristics being mentioned. And in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that is Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami has described the characteristics of pure devotional service, which are as follows. Pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Second, pure devotional service is a beginning of all auspiciousness. Third, pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. Fourth, pure devotional service is rarely achieved. Fifth, those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. Sixth, pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. Krishna is all attractive, but pure devotional service attracts even him. This means that pure devotional service is even transcendentally stronger than Krishna himself, because it is Krishna's internal potency. Yeah, so in this way, so we just read the characteristics of devotee, pure devotee, and characteristics of pure devotional service. In this way, we all aspire Shuddha Bhakti. This means in basically free from any personal desire. In a summary form, in a Nectar of Devotion, this verse of the third canto, 29th chapter, verses 12 and 13, Sri Kapila Dev will instruct as follows. He says, my dear mother, those who are my pure devotees and who have no desire for material benefit or philosophical speculation have their minds so much engaged in my service that they are never interested in asking me for anything except to be engaged in that service. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. So this is like our prayer and aspiration, to be engaged in Shuddha Bhakti by grace of Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very elevated position to be in, if one can get there, but it's hard, very hard. Anyway, now it's to the end. Huh?
Thank you. Nanyatra mad bhagavatah pradhana purusheshwarat atmanah sarva bhutanam bhayam tivram nivartate.
The terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any shelter other than myself. For I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of all creation, and also the Supreme Soul of all souls.
Madbhayad vati vatoyam suryastapati madbhayat varshatindro dahati agnir murtyuscharati madbhayat.
It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows. Out of fear of me, the sun shines. Out of fear of me, and the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me, and death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me.
Jnana vairagya yuktena bhakti yogena yoginaha kshemaya padamulam me pravishanti akuto bhayam.
The yogis equipped with transcendental knowledge and renunciation and engaged in devotional service for their eternal benefit take shelter of my lotus feet. And since I am the Lord, they are thus eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead without fear.
एतावानेव लोकेऽस्मिन् पुंसां निःश्रेयसोदयः तीव्रेण भक्तियोगेन मनोमयि अर्पितं स्थिरम्. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in the intensive practice of devotional service. That is the only means for attainment of the final perfection of life. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Thank you. Oh,
Is it,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So the Lord's power, verses 41 to 44. Fear of material world cannot be overcome by any means except by devotion to the Lord. So won't the demigod become angry if one just worship the Lord? No, the Lord assures us in text 42. It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows. Out of fear of me, the sun shines out of fear of me. And the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me. And death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. So this means like all the demigods are working under the direction of the Supreme Persons of Godhead, Shri Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna. The greatest benefit can be achieved only by offering one's mind in intense practice of Bhakti Yoga. Yes, so our mind should be absorbed in Hari Kirtan and Hari Katha always. And as it was previously mentioned about the sun shines because of Krishna's power. And also Lord Indra is distributing rain out of the fear of Lord Shri Krishna. It means that he follows the orders of Lord Krishna. So there's some references as per Brahma Samhita. So about the sun, it says, Yak Chakshure Sasavita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Tejaha Yasya Gyaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindamari Purusham Tamham Bhajami So this is a verse which says that the Son, God, is following the instructions of Krishna, and it moves in its orbit. Also about Indra is Yastvindra Gopam Mathavendra Maho Swakarma Bandhana Rupa Phalabhajanamatanoti Karmani Nirdhati Kim Tuja Bhakti Bhajam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And the last sentence here, it mentions that we need to offer one's mind, our mind, in intense practice of Bhakti Yoga. So with reference to Brahma Samhita, there is one verse which says, Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Bhiti Vasyalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sadhishim Tanu Purete Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So those who cultivate their thoughts of him through anger, amour, natural friendship, fear, parenthood, delusion, reverence, and servitorship attain to bodies of the form and nature appropriate to the mood of their meditation. I worship that Primal Lord Govinda. So we should think of Krishna, but in a very favorable way. Just like Shishupal also was thinking of Krishna, but in a very offensive way. He's blaspheming Lord Krishna. And Kans also is always thinking of Krishna, but out of fear, not out of like love and affection. So this verse of Brahma Samhita, it cautions us that we should think of Krishna in a very, with prema bhav, prema bhakti, with love and devotion. Hare Krishna Prabhu Nitai Gaura Haribo. Thank you very much.
Very nice explanations. Thank you, Surinder. Very, very nice explanations. And yes, this is a really amazing verse, how we shouldn't worry about the devatas. They are also servants of Krishna, and they won't be unhappy if we are worshipping Krishna. And even if they're unhappy, even if they go against the Lord, we are with the Lord. He's the master of all the devatas. So nothing to be frightened of. Any questions, any comments? Anybody?
Prabhu, hello.
Yes,
Hare
Prabhu.
Prabhu, always this question is coming Siddhi. You will go to final position in Siddhi Lab. Siddhi. So what is that position? Final position. What is that? How? This is a bhakti, first Shraddha bhakti, Rag, Prem, and Siddhi. Oh, what's that position? What's this qualification of, and what the how it's look like?
Let me just 1 second. It's Siddhi is something that is like a perfection, which is only a material for perfection. But I think what is worth looking at, and that's something that devotees don't aspire for. But what I wanted to share is this. This is something which is very important. We start with Shraddha. Shraddha is faith, having faith. And we plant this seed of bhakti and we water it with faith. And then once we get a bit of faith, we associate with devotees, sadhu sang. And from sadhu sang, bhajana kriya. We start to practice bhakti yoga, at least externally. And then the next stage after that is anartha nivritti. A lot of things will come which are unwanted. And those unwanted things, we have to be very careful and get rid of those unwanted things. And then there's something called nishtha. Nishtha is where you become very fixed, that I will every day chant my rounds nicely. And when we do that, the next stage, we come to ruchi, where we get a taste. I can't live without chanting the holy names of the Lord. And then there's something called ashakta, which is great attachment. At the moment, our attachment is with the material possessions and material things. But this Ashakta is giving us attachment to Krishna. From there comes Bhav, which is great transcendental emotions towards Krishna. From where we can aim for Prema Bhakti, which is the fruit of the tree. Now, in this, Siddhi does not even appear, right? The Siddhis don't even appear. They're irrelevant because this tree is all about Bhakti and how we can go from Shraddha all the way to Prema by following this process of Bhakti. So this is the important thing. This it's called the Bhakti Lata Beach. We have to protect our devotion. We have planted the seed, and now we want to water with a lot of careful attention that seed, so it fructifies and turns into this fantastic fruit called Prema Bhakti. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very nice, Prabhu. Very nice, very good. Very with the picture.
Yeah,
Very clear.
yeah. The
Thank
pictures help.
Yeah, for itself more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Anything you want to add, Surinder?
No, very nicely explained by you, Prabhu. That's very nice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. And that was a really nice session. Thank you, Nanda Leela, beautifully chanting those verses. So amazing. So, and Surinder, thank you for the commentary as well. Very, very nice.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Leena, thank you. Thank you for the darshan. Let's just have a quick darshan of Radha Krishna. Amazing. Oh, you got the holy on them. Very good.
Yes.
Very nice. Indeed. Very nice. Yeah, Krishna loves playing holy as does Radharani. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Anandalila Mataji, Surendra,
Yes, amazing.
Prabhuji,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Dandavad.
so much.
Nithai
Thank
Gaur.
you.
Radha Krishna Bhagavan ki.
Thank you, Hari Bol, everybody. Hare Krishna.